Hi friends, welcome to Learn Programming. In this video, we will be looking at the Flask web framework. This is an introduction video where we look at some of the main features of the Flask framework, and from next video onwards, we will be start doing coding. And Flask is a web framework for Python. Micro doesn't mean it lacks any features, but the core framework is very simple, and it is very extensible. That is the main feature of Flask compared to monolithic frameworks like Django or Laravel. The learning curve of Flask is very minimal, so it is very beginner friendly web framework in Python. Also, it is possible to have an entire application in a single file, but practically we won't be writing a real application in a single file, but it's still possible to write an application completely in a single file. Also, the core is very simple. Flask provides its own extensions which can be installed or added to the existing Flask applications to extend its features. By convention, we can use templates and static for such folders are used for templates and serving static files, which can be also configured or changed in Flask. Other than that, it doesn't force the developer to use a particular folder structures, so we have more flexibility or the freedom to customize or build a particular project in our own way compared to monolithic frameworks, because in monolithic kind of frameworks we have a particular folder structures, and we are forced to use that kind of structure in the applications. We can change much of that folder structures, or will be able to change we won't be able to change the configurations files as well. But in the case of Flask, we don't have such strict rules. The developer has the freedom to choose the folder structures and develop the application as per the application needs, because every business application is very unique, and it might need different folder structures, or organizations of the files might be different than other applications. So we have more freedom to customize or build things in our own way. That is the one of the main feature or advantage of using a micro framework such as Flask. And in case of Flask, it does not have a inbuilt database library or something, but we can use our own extensions, or Flask provides extra extensions which can be any database library, or can be installed to the existing applications, and we can use that in our application. In general, we can use SQL Alchemy as the database layer, but it doesn't force developer to use any ORMs or such kind of things. You have the freedom whether you can use an ORM in a Flask application, or you can build using writing plain queries, or that is the freedom that Flask offers. Or in the case of a form validation library, Flask provides extra extension to use a form validation library, but it is not required to use that particular library. You can use any library. For example, some other kind of task like file uploads, you can use your own extensions, or the extensions which Flask provides. So there are officially many extensions which Flask supports, but by default when you install a Flask applications, there won't be such things, because the core is very simple and minimal. But you can add as the application grows and the requirements becomes more complicated. We can add our own extensions and customize our applications. Also, when you consider the advanced options, we have Flask provides some hooks functionalities to customize the framework's behaviors. Also, we can subclass the Flask's Python classes and add more features, which will also change the way how the Flask behaves. So actually, Flask is, due to this nature, Flask is really good for writing microservices and APIs, because the core is very minimal and it is really good to write microservices and API kind of things. So this is actually a very minimal web application which can be made in a Flask. Actually, if you see this code, there is only just 5 lines of code in a single file. So under just 5 lines of code, we have a web server up and running. That is the simplicity of Flask. When we want to write a simple this kind of application in a monolithic framework, we have to install it, and it will come with many folders. If you consider Rails or Laravel or any other monolithic framework, when you need to write just a single root, there will be lot of folders and configuration files that is created in our project directory to write a single hello world application. But here we have just one single file and just only very few lines of code. So this is very beginner friendly. If you compare this to the monolithic frameworks, this will be very beginner friendly framework. So if you are just learned Python and just starting with the web development, Flask is the best framework to start with, because it becomes very easy to pick up new things and write code with a minimal effort. So we will be start doing coding from next video onwards. So see you in the next video, and this is the official website link for the Flask project. Flask is actually an open source project, and this link will be provided in the content section of the video, and we will be starting the coding from next video onwards. See you then.